All right, so walking butt kicks, getting those heels up nice and high towards the butt. Starting to stretch out the quads. Yep, and just get the body moving a little bit here. Loosen things up. Start to sort of just let those muscles flow where they want to flow. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. And we're going to switch to knees to chest. So just a tight pull, so sort of opposite of what we were just doing. Knee right up to the chest and right back down. So there's a lot of stability worked into this workout. It's going to work the core. It's going to work the obliques. And then, of course, we're going to throw in there some really obvious core work as well. And then within all of that, we're going to work on mobility and flexibility as well. So let's add in that open. So knee to chest, big open to the side, and drop. Keeping those shoulders down and back, trying to think about what the whole body is doing here, right? So the movement is obviously happening at the hips, but you want to think about that nice straight back, those shoulders staying down and back, whole body working together to make this workout happen. And to get a little bit of that burn going on, you'll feel it through your shoulders, through your core, through your arms mostly. Last one here. Big open and drop. A little bit of a wider stance. You're going to want your mat out already because we're going to move right from these stretches into the workout itself. So we're actually going to start at the top. Let's get rid of this bar. We'll start at the top of the mat. Feet are about shoulder width apart. You're just going to start with those reaches, right to left. Up and over the head. As you reach up and over, you're going to exhale at the top. And just let your body move into that stretch a little bit deeper with each stretch. And you'll start to feel the lats give a little bit, the obliques stretch a little bit further. We're going to work a little bit with spinal rotation here for a couple of minutes. All right, stand up nice and tall. What you're going to do is you're going to start with a spinal rotation to a windmill. So arms are up and out to the side. You're going to stretch to the right, back to the center, and then let that right hand sort of lead you down towards the ground to that windmill. Up to the top and alternate sides. So spinal rotation, back to the center, and then the left hand reaches down and up to the top. So really playing with all of the angles and directions that that spine is responsible for moving in. But we might not necessarily throw together all at the same time. And right back up to the top. Let's do one more each side. Good practice for the windmill here, so that right hand leads you down towards the floor. Yeah, great mobility. Up towards the top, last one. Rotate, find center, and down. All right, so from the top of your mat here, you're going to want to take that deep breath in, stretch the spine up to the ceiling, push your butt back behind you. And we're going to go directly into an inchworm. So walking those hands all the way to the top of the mat and let your hips drop into Cobra. Feet flatten. And then you're going to go right back into inchworm. So this is a good time to start paying attention to what your core is doing as we're moving through these mobility movements, right? So I want you to think about your core as the prime mover in these mobility, in this inchworm particularly, right? So instead of thinking about the hips driving up towards the ceiling, you're really going to think about the core and how you can tighten those muscles. Excellent. Tuck the toes under, walk it up. All right. This time you're going to walk the hands out to a high plank and hold for just a moment. No Cobra. And we're going to switch into some deep lunges. So you're going to alternate stepping a foot forward to the outside of the hand, letting your body weight shift that foot and then step it back. Alternating sides here again. Shifting body weight forward so that you're taking a little bit of the pressure off of your hands, off of your wrists, but also so that you can really stretch out those hip flexors. You start to feel the quad get a little bit of a workout in there. Let's do one more each side. Excellent. Now, next time you step your right foot forward, I want you to bring it in between your hands. Center most of your weight over the heel, and then we're just going to move into a rotation. So leave your left hand on the mat and open the torso up to the right. Big twist. Back down to the mat. Leave the right hand on the mat and big twist over to the left hand side. Getting a little bit of a leg workout in. And also feeling that stretch through the glutes, through the hips. All the way through, taking it nice and slow. We're going to get a ton of reps in here. Rotating the torso as far as you can to reach that right up towards the ceiling. One more rotation here. Excellent. And then what I'm going to have you do with both hands on the mat, go ahead and drop that back knee and sit the hips all the way back over the left knee, straightening out the front leg. Exactly, into that hamstring stretch. Square your hips off here, square your shoulders off. Deep breath and sink into that stretch a little bit. Give the body some time to sort of recognize the pull as a good thing. Go ahead and pull the body forward. So we're going to bring the body weight forward again and bend that front knee, but you're going to leave that back knee on the ground this time. So again, try to square your hips here. So if you feel like your right butt cheek is further forward than your left butt cheek, go ahead and pull that back a little bit. Keep things nice and even. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to push your weight just gently back so that you're centered over both legs. And we're going to go into a 90-90 here. So both legs are bent, and you're just going to gently drop your right hip down to the side into that 90-90 position. I'd like you to start with your fingertips on the ground to sort of position yourself comfortably. Let the hips sort of figure out what they're doing. Find 90 in the front. Find 90 on the side. And then when you're ready, you can pick your hands up off the mat. Shoulder blades are down and back. Torso is twisted straight forward. And I want you to close your eyes and breathe out tension from the hips and from the glutes. We tend to squeeze the glutes right now, so if you can actively let go of that tension, you'll feel your hips sink into this stretch a little bit more. Sit up nice and tall. Feel the stretch through your right oblique. All right, fingertips to the mat. We're going to do a 180 here so that we're in the complete opposite direction. Lift the knees up off the ground. Push the feet into the floor and rotate the body so that we're now facing in the opposite direction. Again, use your fingertips here to get yourself into position. We have plenty of time in these holds. And then when you're ready, you can pick the fingertips up. You can rest them on your legs. Close your eyes here, and again, letting go of any tension that you're feeling in the glutes and the hips, and just let yourself sink into this stretch. Open up those hips and stretch through the glutes. 20 seconds here. Deep breath in, shoulders are facing forward, chin is straight forward, letting those shoulders pull down and back and creating space between the ears and the shoulders. All right, fingertips back to the mat. We're going to lift back into that half kneeling position, this time with the left leg in front. So go ahead and push yourself up so the right knee is behind you. And I'm going to have you sit back into that hamstring stretch to start us off. So the left leg is now straight in front. Square those hips off. Make sure the hips are even, the shoulders are even. I'm just going to turn it around so I can see our timer. All right, go ahead and bend that front leg, draw the body weight forward, but keep your back knee just on the floor here. So we're just getting that stretch through the hips. Again, square everything off, adjust as needed. Excellent. What I'm going to have you do is tuck the toes on the right foot under and lift that back knee off the ground. And then from here, we're going to go into those rotations. So we just sort of want to balance everything out. Leave the right hand on the mat. Rotate the torso to the left and reach that hand right up towards the ceiling. Slowly back down to the mat and rotate in the opposite direction. You're going to feel your hips stretch and your glutes stretch. You're also going to find your lower back stretching and twisting here a little bit. Be gentle with your body. Adjust as needed. Giving yourself a little bit of time here to sort of settle into the stretch, settle into the pull. We're coming up on our first plank hold. So that'll be that first obvious core exercise, even though we have been working core. Let's do one more rotation. And then you're going to come back down to the mat, step it out into high plank, find a really nice positioning here, and just hold. We're going to have a few of these holds throughout, and they're really just going to sort of draw the attention to the center of the body, making sure we know where all those muscles are and what it feels like to really engage. If you want to close your eyes and focus on breathing so that you're not just sort of holding your breath to keep the core nice and tight. We'll go back into a bit of a stretch here before we sort of dive right into an ab-focused set of intervals. Hold steady, let things start to shake a little bit with the hold, with the strength of it. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. Gently lower the knees to the mat and adjust to take some of the pressure off the shoulders. We're going to go through a cat-cow child's pose series. So we're going to round back up to the ceiling first, stretch out that spine. And then you're going to exhale, pull the belly button down into that deep arch. From that arch, you're going to come into neutral and actually sit it back in child's pose briefly. And then we're going to reverse direction. So pull your body back up to all fours, deep into the arch. Round the back up to the ceiling. Back into that deep arch. And sit back in child's pose. So just a brief stretch there because we're going to get into some straight ab work at this point. All right, here we go. Up onto all fours again. We're going to go into some side plank series. So down onto the right elbow. We're going to go into our first side plank. So you're going to reach that left arm right up towards the ceiling here. Nice straight lines. Find a good body line. Hips facing forward, shoulders facing forward. Think nice straight lines for 3, 2. I want you to bend the bottom leg. So the right leg bends and the knee drops to the mat to give you a little support. Left leg, point the toes on the left foot, and you're just going to sweep the foot forward and back. Forward and back. Keep the toes on the mat, and these are small sweeps. You don't have to exaggerate it. In fact, I don't want the hips to move much here. We're going 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and turn to the center with that knee still on the mat. And back into an elbow plank for a quick hold, a quick reset. And we're going to keep rotating the body into a left side plank in about 10 seconds. So for now, you're just blocking in form, nice straight back, butt stays low. 4, 3, 2, And one, rotate it so the left arm is on the mat, and we're reaching towards the ceiling with the right. Keeping those hips in a nice T here, and that's true of the arms as well, right? So straight lines from that elbow right up through the fingertips on the right hand. Hold tight. Looking good. Nice job. 3, 2, bend that left leg. The knee hits down. And you're going to start with your sweep. So point the toes on the right foot and sweep. Front to back, keeping the toes nice and close to the floor, even on the floor. And these are small sweeps, keeping the hips facing forward, just hitting those glutes a little bit. 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and gently lower the hips to the floor. And we're going to turn it so that you're sitting. We're going to start all the way on our backs. We have a couple of exercises that are just straight abs right now. So I want you to start stretched out on the mat with your hands up over the head. We're going to start with a hollow body hold. So go ahead and lift just up off the mat. I want you to feel that lower back gently press into the mat here. And then we're going to start with some alternating leg lifts. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Keeping that lower back right to the mat. 1 and 2. Straight up over those hips. If you want to use your fingertips to support your neck right now, you can go ahead and bend the elbows, and the fingertips are just at the bottom part of the head, upper part of the neck, giving you a little bit of support there so you don't feel like you're having to hold the neck up, but the elbows stay nice and wide if that's the case, so you're not pulling on the neck. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Back into that hollow body here for another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. I want you to draw those knees into the chest. Hug them in for a second here. Release the right leg. Hug the left knee in towards the body and let the right leg stretch out right in front of you. Nice and long here. Hips to the ground. Pull that right knee back in and straighten out the left. Again, pulling away from the body. Lower back is still gently to the mat here. Trying to think about keeping all of your joints nice and even. Pull that left knee back into the center. Hug into the body and then go ahead and roll up onto those sit bones. We have a few more core ab exercises, before we add in some mobility back in. So we're going to go into a reverse plank here. So you're going to have your legs nice and straight. Fingertips are just behind your butt, fingertips facing forward. And you're going to push your hips up towards the ceiling into a nice straight line. That's what we're looking for here. Stretching the hips, stretching the abs a little bit. Keep the hips nice and high. We're going to change this by taking a step in with each foot. So you're going to bring your left foot in towards your butt, your right foot in towards your butt. Exactly. So now you're in a reverse tabletop. You should feel a stretch through your biceps right now. And what I want you to do is lower those hips to the mat, squeeze the glutes, and draw the hips right back up towards the ceiling. You can keep your eyes closed here if you really want to focus on your core. So pretend it's just the core, just the glutes and the abs that are doing the work right now. Down and up. Get those glutes working a little bit here. Let's go 3, 2, 1, and hold. Keep the hips nice and high. Palms are pushing through the mat right now for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hips to the mat, and go ahead and give those shoulders a little bit of a break. You want to hug the knees in and pull those shoulders down and back. You should feel some heat through the shoulders, through the arms as well. All right, we're not done quite yet. We're going to go back into another series of ab work, and we're just going to start off with a high plank. So again, another hold. Whenever you're ready, you're going to step it out into high plank. I just want you to take a couple of seconds to sort of settle yourself in. Your feet should be about hip width apart. Wrists are directly under the shoulders. If you feel as if you're pushing your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling, or if you're letting your chest pull towards the mat, I want you to just even everything out. Sort of imagine your back, the spine, the musculature as just a straight board, nice and even for this hold. Nice and strong again. Let your body sort of feel that strength. Feel the muscles sort of really start to fight for it. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees to the mat, and you're going to follow suit with your chest all the way down to the mat, arms stretched in front. We're going to lift into a Superman series here. So we're going to start with just regular Supermans. You're going to lift, squeeze at the top, and relax. So what we're going for with this squeeze is feeling all of those muscles in the posterior chain from the calves up to the hands, the glutes, and the lower back, all the way up to the shoulders, really squeezing nice and tight and giving you support and strength on the back side of the body. Let's do one more hold just like that. Up and hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and relax. This time when you come up, you're going to do swimmers. So you're going to lift, pull those elbows down and back towards the spine as tight as you can take them. Reach out again and relax. We're just going to do a couple of these. Lift up, pull those elbows down and back. Reach forward and relax. Again, lift, pull those elbows down and back. Last one. Reach and relax. Draw those hands underneath your armpits, and you're just going to go up into a half cobra. Stretch out the chest a little bit. Fill your lungs with air. Nice slow exhale. When you're ready, you're going to push the hips back. So keep the elbows on the mat, forearms on the mat. Knees are now on the mat as well. Go ahead and straighten that right leg out back behind you. And we're going to start with some straight leg kickbacks. So go ahead and flex the foot on the right side and draw that right heel up towards the ceiling, right back down to the mat. We're going to hit those glutes here. So we got them in that reverse tabletop. Now we're bound at them. We're going to bring in the side of the glute. Kick up towards the ceiling, right back down. We're looking for that little bit of a burn before we shift gears and change up this movement. Where we're going from here is you're going to keep that flexed foot. You're going to bring it down to the mat, and we're just going to bring in an arc. So let's do 3, 2, and 1. The right toes are on the mat. You're going to sweep it out to the right side. See if you can bring it all the way up towards the hip, and then right back down. So keep that leg nice and straight. Sweep it up as far as you can towards that right hip, out and away from the body, and back towards the mat. Or excuse me, back towards the back of the body. Let's go 4, 3, 1 more kick. Back to the side, behind the body. That right leg is still straight out back behind you. You're going to bend that heel in towards the opposite butt cheek and stretch it out again. So the heel of the right foot is coming bent up towards the opposite butt cheek, towards the left butt cheek, and right back out. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the right foot in, the right knee in, excuse me, and sit it back in child's pose. Let things stretch out a little bit. We're going to do a bit of a stretch through the glutes and the spine. Draw yourself up onto all fours and deep into that arch. So that deep cat-cow. Into that big arch, round the back up to the ceiling. Exhale back into that deep arch. And then go ahead and sit yourself back on your heels in child's pose again. One more stretch, and then we're going to even things out. We're going to head over to the left side, the left glute. So go ahead, and when you're ready, we're back up. Forearms on the mat. Left leg stretches out back behind you. Go ahead and flex that foot and start with those kickbacks. So the heel just pushes right up towards the ceiling. Slow and steady here, keeping the hips in line and the abs engaged throughout. Go through this glute series. Give the core something to kind of think about tomorrow. A couple of more kicks, and then we're going to bring those toes down to the mat in 3, 2, and 1. Toes to the mat. Keeping the toes on the mat, you're going to sweep that left foot out to the side, big arc, and then back behind the body. So keeping the leg nice and straight. You're going to see how far you can get those toes up towards the hip and right back down. Sweep and back behind you. Keeping your breathing rate slow and steady. Let's go one more sweep. Reach back behind you, and then we're going to go in for that bend. So you're going to bend the left heel up towards the right butt cheek and back down towards the mat. So sort of a cross body extension. Boom. Take it nice and slow, not arching the back at all. This is all about the glute. Let's go 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees into the mat and go ahead and sit back in child's pose again. Stretch it out. Stretch those glutes out. So we're going to make our way back to a standing position, but we still have a little bit of work to do before we're done here. Up onto all fours. All right, here we go. Our third and final plank. Step it out into high plank form. We're going to have a little fun with this plank, but first we're locking in form. So nice straight back here. Let your hips get in line with the shoulders. All right, so from this high plank position, we're going to call this our sort of baseline position. We're going to go into a cobra and then back into this high plank. So you're going to let the hips gently fall to the mat. Let the feet stretch out back behind you. Stretch the tops of the feet. Once you're sort of settled into that cobra, you're going to go back into high plank. So tuck the toes, and it's just a gentle lift back into high plank, and then into cobra. And because we're not going all the way up into down dog right now, you really have to sort of block in that plank form. Boom. Almost as if we're doing a really exaggerated active plank. Let's do one more, just like that. Find cobra. And then into that plank form. Excellent. All right, so what we are going to do from here is lift the hips up into down dog. And then back to our baseline, back to that high plank. So we're getting a ton of planking in right now, down dog, but we're giving the shoulders a little bit of a break. And plank. Down dog. And plank. Hold this plank. So we're in a nice straight line here. Great plank form. We're going to pull both of those exercises together. So go ahead and let the hips fall down into cobra. So from cobra, we're going to go all the way up into down dog, but we're going to take it really slow. So hit that plank first, and then continue up to down dog. Yeah. Back down to hit plank. and all the way to Cobra. So it's almost like there's a sticky point at that plank form that you have to stop and pause, sort of pay your dues, and then carry on with the exercise. Boom. And hips to the mat. Yeah, nice. Hips to the mat. Let's do one more full rep. So, through plank, hit that baseline. Hips up into down dog. Hit that baseline again. And into Cobra. All right, I think we've earned a little bit of a break for the shoulders this time when you go up to down dog. So toes under, hip plank, down dog. Go ahead and let yourself rest in that stretch for a second here. And then you're going to go ahead and relax the shoulders just a bit. We're going to go into a soft pedal of the knees. So right to left. Stretching through the calves. We played with calves on leg day earlier in the week, so getting that stretch on here. Just a reminder to sort of keep that length going. Let's go one more each side. And then you're going to relax those shoulders even more and walk those toes towards your hands into forward fold. All right, I want you to close your eyes here. Let yourself sink into it. Every exhale releases some tension and allows your torso to get a little bit closer to the legs. I'm having so much fun by myself. With your fingertips supporting you on the ground, I want you to take a step to the left and a step to the right. So just widen that stance a little bit. And again, sink into that stretch. Let the tension out of your neck and your jaw. You feel like you're holding that head up at all. Walk the hands over to the right toe. Rotate the torso a little bit here. So we're back to that spinal rotation. Close your eyes and just let these stretches even things out. Elongate those muscles. Walk the hands through the center over to the left side. Back to the center. And if you can, sort of walk those hands back towards your heels a little bit, even further back if you can. Just give yourself a little bit more incentive to get deeper into that hold. Walk the hands forward, give your body a little bit of support. Let's go back into that soft pedal. So right to left here, shifting the hips. Right to left, you can take a nice wider stance if it helps you get a little bit more stretch through. Hands are supporting the body weight here. All right, and once you soft pedal back and forth a few times to sort of wake up those leg muscles. Excuse me. I want you to sink deeper into that side lunge. So see if you can get your whole body weight over that right heel. Yeah, beautiful. Go ahead and straighten both legs. You're going to walk those hands towards the left side. Sink deep into that side lunge. Up and over to the right. Up and over to the left. Last side lunge. Straighten both legs. Hands walk to the center. I want you to get your feet a little bit closer in here. So maybe just a one heel in towards the center, followed by the toes. And then you're going to sit your butt back into that frogger. So same idea as those side lunges, right? Just open up those hips. Knees go nice and wide. Go ahead and lift the butt so you're straightening the legs here. Still in that folded over position. One more frogger. Knees out to the side. Lift the chest and chin. Go ahead and straighten those legs, and then you're going to walk the heels and toes right to the center. So one more time, boom, boom, and you're going to roll those shoulders really as slowly as you can take it up towards the ceiling. Feel each vertebrae line back up, and big shoulder rolls with those eyes closed to finish up and settle back into that upright position. One more deep breath in, exhale. Nicely done. And we're back at it. Oops.